I was ordained in 1975 and as a Presbyterian minister, and I served in parishes, congregational ministries, interfaith ministries of various kinds. And most recently, when the church said to me, well, we just don't have a place for you anymore in the church, it seems, I went into chaplaincy work. I'm a professional chaplain certified by the College of Pastoral Supervision and Psychotherapy. And I have worked in hospice care, dealing with death and dying issues with patients and family day in and day out. All of us as chaplains recognize this story. A knock on the door, come on in. Or there's an appointment set. Person comes in, sits down in your chair, the chair. I had a pastoral counseling professor in seminary who said he kept a chair in his office which was tattered and torn and beat up. And he said, I kept that because I knew no matter what they looked like on the outside, on the inside, they looked like that chair. So they come in and they start telling me their story. And I listen empathetically with concern and compassion, non-judgmental love, of course. Pretty soon I recognize I've got a problem. Their problem now is my problem. And I start clicking through my database to think of what's the next referral I can make. How can I get this person help that they need? Scroll down through the database and find the person. Well, now I've come to a new understanding, when we meet our own capacity, it's important for us then, as chaplains, to refer on. Absolutely. And there's great wisdom in that. We engage in teaching, we engage in guidance, we engage in reconciliation, we engage in healing. All of us are involved in that. And with having learned this visual kinesthetic dissociation, I've expanded my own capacity to be involved in that with these folks as they come in. So that when they leave my office, they leave reconciled to the traumatic experience that they've had. And they leave, what I like to think, experiencing the freedom of the children of God. That's what we were all predestined to do. Now I got my predestined Presbyterian word in. To be and to experience the freedom of the children of God. This is an amazing technique and an amazing possibility for all of us, not only to deepen our own sense of awareness and self-awareness, to get some of the healing that we all need, but also to share that with people who've gone through terrible traumatic experiences and keep that memory alive for themselves.
My son drove an amphibious assault vehicle as a Marine corporal for 1,400 miles. He was on the flank of the iconic picture of an amphib pulling down the statue. My son was on the flank on the avenue. That was his teammate that did that. He came back, got out of the Marine Corps, missed redeployment by 4 days of his enlistment date. So was not helped. So his dream had been to be a cop, police officer, FBI cop. I arranged for the interview. He took all the tests, and the psych test for the local sheriff's department worked up. First indication something might be wrong. They would not allow me to enter the police academy. What's that all about? Within the year, my daughter-in-law had bruises, black eyes. My son wasn't sleeping nights. He was hunting the magical mouse, trying to kill it before he killed the family members. The house had become a blanketed cave. My wife and I saved the house from foreclosure. We supported the family while he did 7 weeks VA. And he came out with 80% disability on PTSD. 3 days of crying and I ended it. My son was never going to achieve his dream of what he wanted out of life. But I realized I could at least hug him. He had his limbs, and he could attend Thanksgiving meals with me. But he had a different life ahead of him. We roll forward a couple of years, things get a little bit better, medication attempts, let's get the meds right, VA answer to the problem. And my wife and I, in an accident rollover, 65 miles an hour, rolled it 3 times into a horse pasture park road coming south towards the Garden of the Gods. 3 of us in the car. And I'm here today to show that you can walk away from a car that's flat after it rolls 3 times into a horse pasture. My wife got the worst of it: clavicle, ribs, broken artificial knee, torn ligaments in her ankle, level 3 TBI, cognitive thinking loss, couldn't remember words to songs, the entire 9 yards. My concussion was a little less as an infantry ranger, doesn't exist. I'm not injured, I don't care. Back at work Monday morning after the Friday accident. I had met these 2 gentlemen with my wife singing at a piano bar. They were just men with voices. My wife has a voice, staged 20 years.
It's not all she has.
She has talent. She has me as a guilt.
There you go.
But anyway, stay away from that. And I knew Don to be a chiropractor, and I had heard him talk about some of his technique and practice, and I went to him. And 10, 15 treatments later, his adjustments, he's a trained doctor of chiropractic treatment, whatever the official title may be, but he's a healer. He manipulated the skull, he talked, my wife came, he treated her. He said, okay, I gotta get my son in here. And he started treating my son. Now, I regress this a little bit. His first use of the GI Bill, he couldn't master businessman. He could get the homework done with the help of his wife, but he couldn't pass tests. Don treated him for a couple months, a couple of times, different visits. He's now in training, passing the test to be a network, certified network manager. And he's tutoring the other adults behind him. He learns it so well and is maintaining such a high GPA that he's tutoring kids behind him, young adults. He's still my son.
Thanks,
Back
Scott.
forth.
It's his fault I'm here. When he saw the response that Nathan got from these simple interventions that we're going to introduce you today, he came back from DC and told me that he handed a handwritten letter to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And I was just like, dude, this is... No. The last time I was here, your chapel was brand new. And at that time, I could not have imagined that I would be attempting to collaborate with the staff here. So I'm seriously humbled. That is not an exaggeration. But I have to tell you one of my favorite stories. There was this guy named Moses, and he had just graduated from the premier military academy of the day. And he knew his Jewish heritage. And God came to him and said, I want you to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. And Moses said, you got the right guy. He got one Egyptian and went into hiding and became a nomad, and 40 years went by. And God said, I want you to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. And he said, no, you're king. And God said, that was my first big task. So, one of my patients handed me a book in the summer of '99, and it was called Frogs into Princes, and he looked at me with his left eye, and he did this funny voice, and he said, I think you'll enjoy it. And I felt something change when he was talking to me. And I knew I was going to read the book, and I didn't know why. And at that time, for reasons that I can't begin to explain then or now, people were coming to me with marital problems and depression and anxiety and phobias and all kinds of crap. And I knew I didn't know what to do, and I tried to get them to go away. Go to this therapist, go to this psychiatrist. They wouldn't go. No, I want you to take care of it. And part of the reason is they knew that they weren't going to get a mental health history from seeing a chiropractor. It took me a while to figure it out. I'm slow. I get it, but it takes me a while. I read the book, and I said, these guys have cracked the code. I was looking for a second career. I sold my practice. I left Newport Beach, California, came to Colorado. I thought it would take me 6 months to learn this new discipline. It took 6 years for me to get to a point where I'm comfortable with it, and I'm giving you the short course today. So, in June of '75, the guys that developed this stuff were headed down Highway 9 towards Santa Cruz, California, and Dr. Bandler was still a smoker at the time. They stopped at a convenience store to buy cigarettes, and Richard comes out of the convenience store. He's laughing hysterically. He says, "John, what in the world is up with people? How do you see what someone's saying? Do you see words coming out of their mouth? Do you see a cloud writing? Do you see, don't you hear what people are saying?" And John said, "I feel you, Richard." And as they chatted in the car on the way to their Thursday night group therapy session, they realized that all of our software is coded in visual or pictures, auditory or sounds, kinesthetic or feelings, olfactory smells and tastes. With this simple understanding, we can now reverse engineer the software of the brain. This is not a small deal. And believe me, I wish I'd learned this 30 years sooner. Life would have been much different. Much, much, much different. So, they go down the road to their Thursday night group therapy session. They stop at a stationery store and buy colored construction paper. And they cut it into yellow, green, and blue. And the people that introduce themselves using a lot of visual language, they talk about what things look like and what they see, and so on and so on and so on, they get a yellow piece of paper. The auditories, the people that talk about the sound of things, they get a green piece of paper. And the kinesthetics in the group get a blue piece of paper. They put all the yellows together, all the greens together, all the blues together. It's Old Home Week, everybody loves everybody else. They mix the groups up, fights break out. They say we're on to something. The next day, Richard took off to Europe on business, and John and Richard don't agree whether it was 10 days or 30 days, but when they got back together, the one of them looks at the other one and says, "Have you noticed?" And the other one says, "How in the world did we miss it?" And this is why sensory acuity is important, because John and Richard both will tell you that they didn't invent anything. They only noticed the things that we'd all missed all these centuries, all these millennia. And what they noticed was that, and pardon my artwork, I know it's not what it should be. What they noticed was that the visual people look up a lot. It's as though they're looking back toward their occipital lobe where the pictures are stored. The auditory people look left and right a lot, as though they're looking at the temporal lobes where the sounds are stored. The kinesthetic people look down a lot where they feel the feelings that they feel. John and Richard were heavily influenced by Gregory Bateson, who is known as the father of epistemology as we know it today, that branch of philosophy that deals with how we know the things that we know. And they called him up and they said, "We got to talk. What are you doing?" "Well, this is what we found." He says, "You're kidding, right?" "No, we're not kidding." So they get together at Gregory's house on Thursday night. Gregory sits at the head of a table that's 30 feet long, and John sits on one side. Richard, "Gentlemen, is this what we think it is?" "Yeah." "Did we miss anything?" "Don't think so." "Is there anything else we need to talk about?" "Don't think so." Gregory stands up and he says, "Gentlemen, Joan of Arc was killed for less." Now, we all know something about talk therapy, which is something that happens in the conscious mind. I didn't learn when I was in school studying neurology that we should pay attention to unconscious processes. It's the battleground. You can get most mental health issues to go away by simply bringing it out of the unconscious mind into the conscious mind. How do you know you feel bad? Maybe it's a good feeling and you got mixed up. How do you know when to feel bad? It doesn't happen for no reason. Watch their eyes. I cannot count the times that you know, I brag that I can get rid of depression in 5 minutes. I kind of quit doing that because everyone thinks I'm a nutcase. And I'm thinking, well, you should know me a little better. You'd find out something about nutcase. When you feel bad, how do you know that you feel bad? They go, it's right here. Well, that looks like a picture. What is the picture? Well, it's a picture of the ocean. A real case history with a woman I've been singing with in choir for years. She finally came in for a background. I said, maybe we should get rid of this other thing too. What is it a picture of? It's a picture of the ocean. Well, when I think of the ocean, I mean, I lived within blocks of the ocean for 15 years. It's down there. And it goes whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And it smells like fish, and. No, her ocean is here. I'm like, this is perfect storm ocean. She says, yeah. I said, move the picture off to the side. And she went, oh, it's gone. Getting rid of depression can be that simple. All I said to Nathan was, can you make yourself feel bad? And he went, and then I put my hand behind him and push him toward the picture that he's already made, and he starts pushing back. I mean, this picture that he's seeing is as real as it was then. So I have him step out of himself and hallucinate himself standing over here. I said, can you imagine that guy standing over there will get over this? He said, no. I'm like, oh boy, what do I do now? You know somebody that could go through this and come out just kicking ass and taking names. And he thinks, well, he goes, yeah, I know that guy. So you can imagine that this guy over here will acquire those skills one day, right? He thought for a while, he says, yeah. I go, okay, give that guy those skills now. And he's standing here where he can no longer see the movie that he's made. I know this is theater at the absurd, but, you know, feeling bad about something that happened 20 years ago is theater. So since we have an absurd problem, an absurd solution. Give that guy the skills. And I didn't ask Nathan what skills he gave that guy, because I don't care. I don't care that that guy has the skills. And that took him a couple of minutes. And he says, okay. And I can see his physiology changing. Okay, when you're ready, step into that guy. This takes him a couple minutes. And he goes like this. And I turn him, and I walk him right into that battle scene that used to be the biggest part of his PTSD. And now he's in the scene. He's in himself, reliving the scene. He says, I can't believe I'm okay with this. Now, what's the right time to give these persons these skills? After battle or before? I'll let you decide. I'm just going to try to introduce you to a topic that I hope will change your life as much as it's changed mine and change the lives of those around me. So, I got this backwards. This is unconscious. Too bad it's the only thing I've gotten backward in my life. I might know more about that. Unconscious is primary. We have to have a way to get to this. And unconscious has 4 components: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and olfactory. You see a person doing this. Any idea what's going on? Anybody? This is an expression of something happening in the brain. Probably, if the person's got a pulse. Internal dialogue. Does it make sense to medicate it? Or to medicate this? Depression is epistemological error. Does it make sense to medicate it? If that's the best you can do, if it'll keep the person alive, think of the pictures that make you happy. Think of the pictures that make you sad. There's a tiny subset that will have those superimposed. They'll have some kind of difference, some way of sorting the good picture of that. The vast majority will have the good picture on one side and the bad picture on the other. Swap the two. Create a pathway between the two so that they now have flexibility, so that they can move easily into and out of any emotional state that you can name. Do it for everybody you meet. We all need this. And we all know someone that needs it desperately, or it may be a life and death issue. Close your eyes and say, my name is Scott.
My name is Scott.
And say, my name is Bill.
My name is Bill.
And say, I understand all of this.
I understand all of this.
And, you know, every once in a while someone says, well, I'm only here because my wife sent me. And I say, me too. Not married, but I believe in agreement. And so I have them hold their arm out. And within a matter of seconds, this change in physiology that comes with internal disagreement has proved to them that their unconscious mind is not along on the trip. And which one wins? You know? Smoker trying to quit smoking. I gotta quit this. My girlfriend hates it. It smells, it's burning holes in my suits. Gotta quit. Unconscious mind says, we're gonna smoke now. What happens? You know? We have to find a way to get to the unconscious processes. For all of us, for those of Eastern orientation, meditation is tremendously beneficial. So, what happened when I worked with Nathan Shires? There's a lot in the literature today about the basal ganglia. Basal because they reside at the base of the brain. So the person's got their pictures back here in the occipital lobe. The sounds are over here in the temporal lobes next to the ears. Feelings are up here in the parietal lobes. Smells are up here. Also up here in the front of the brain is something called the prefrontal cortex, which is where rational thought takes place. And if we could scan Scott's brain, Nathan's
I'm a
brain.
West Pointer, I don't have one.
Oh, he doesn't have basal ganglia. He's from USMA. Let me back up another story. Cassandra was referred to me by the medical office where I work, and she had a back pain, and I took her history, and she's taking all these psychotropic drugs. I go, so you have anxiety and phobias and depression? She goes, yep, that's what I come here for. Okay, I'm going to hurry getting rid of your back pain because I want to get rid of those other things, and that could take as much as 10 minutes. She is certain now that I'm certifiable, but she wants to get better, so why not? No extra charge, don't throw it. I had her swap the pictures, swap the sounds, swap the feelings. We began to create some flexibility in her neurology so that she no longer gets stuck. And by the way, the problem in depression is not that the person feels bad. The problem is that they're stuck and can't get out of it. Sometimes you can simply get the person laughing and slap their arm and get them to laugh some more. You know, you can tell Navy Air Force jokes or whatever. And pretty soon you slap their arm and they laugh. And then you keep slapping their arm while they tell you about all the stuff that they feel bad about, and suddenly they've begun to laugh about it. And once they've laughed about it, they can't go back. Because where they used to have a trigger that took them into a strategy, that took them to a feeling, and maybe some activity of some sort, they now have a pop-up menu that says, which one of these strategies do you want to run? And barring some huge outcome, they'll pick the one that's more enjoyable every time. Having run the more enjoyable one 10 or more times, they'll have great difficulty going back to their old strategy. Get them to laugh about the things that they used to cry about. And stay away from content. Well, I feel bad about blank. Blank is content. How do you make yourself feel bad? If you were going to feel good about that, how would you do it? Well, I have to be eating pie. Okay, let's give you some pie. Take them into their more enjoyable strategy over and over. Well, this worked so well with her that when she came back, she had another problem, and she was kind of embarrassed about it, and I said, I don't want to know. I just need to know how you do it, when you do it. And then we can scramble your problem strategy and replace it with a resource strategy. Something like Giddy. It's one of my favorite because it goes all the way down to your toes. Finally, she said, let me just tell you, I've never been able to have an orgasm with my husband. Okay. Don't really know this person well. Need some more information. Maybe she's gay. You ever had an orgasm with a woman? Her eyes go up and left and up and right and then right and left and then down and right. Ever heard the expression downright important? There's a reason why that sticks. More so than down left important or no, downright important. You see the eyes go down at the right, something important's happening. Have you ever had an orgasm with a man? Eyes go this way and that, down right. No. Well, I know she's had them because she knows that she's not had them, right? Well, when are you able to have an orgasm? When I'm alone with my toys. And she's, I mean, a completely different person. And there's such a difference in the sound in her voice. I say, this has got a big auditory component. Let me test my theory. I'd like you to access the voice that you use when you're with your husband. She goes, okay, good, stop, back up. Shake that off. Do me a favor. Access the voice you use when you're alone with your toys. And I wish I could do the look that she did just then. It was angelic. There was a halo of birds circling her head. And she went, this can't be that easy. Take those two and switch them. How do I do that? Grab one, grab the other, unplug them from their sockets. And she went. And she spent like a minute and a half going back and forth between those two states. And she got up and left. No thank you, no copay, no next appointment. Just out the door and gone. Calls me 30 minutes later. She said, I have no idea what happened in your office. I forgot to make an appointment. I forgot to pay my copay. It's okay. It's happened before. Third visit, because there's still a little bit of work to do on the SI joint. Thank God I get to do a little follow-up once in a while. People get well too fast when you do this stuff. I don't even get a chance to get acquainted. Do you still have that problem that we were? No, it's gone. And that's the reaction that you get when you use these few simple tools. So, who wants to be a guinea pig? What happened inside when you were looking at that?
Just brought a memory of a
A
sad
memory?
moment.
Okay. And this sad moment, is there a picture involved?
Yes.
Okay. Close your eyes right now and look at that picture. And the first thing we want you to notice is where in space that picture is. Is it center left, right, midline, above, or below?
Center.
Okay. Is it two-dimensional or three? What shape is it? Round, rectangle, oval?
Square.
Okay. Color, black and white?
Color.
Moving still.
Still.
And is there a sound associated with that
No,
picture?
ma'am.
If you hear a voice describing that picture, do you hear the voice left, right, up, down, front, back, inside, or outside?
Outside.
Okay. Is the voice male, female, or synthesized? Don't play that voice for the parents.
Yeah.
Okay. And where in your body do you feel the feeling associated with that picture? Do you feel it in your head, your neck, your chest, or your lungs?
Chest.
Okay. This is where it gets fun. Does the feeling begin and end in the chest? Does it begin somewhere else and travel to the chest? Does it begin in the chest and go somewhere else?
That stays in the chest.
Okay. Now, from 40 years of development in this area, we know that these things have movement. So, did it start and end in the chest?
Yes.
Does it go up or down or around?
Very round.
Around like in a horizontal plane? Counterclockwise, clockwise?
Clockwise.
Is there a color associated with that feeling? In other words, when you look
Gray.
at it, okay. And does it make a sound as it goes?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it sounds like?
Actually, just sounds of me crying.
Okay. And that's enough for now. Can you grab that feeling and spin it backwards so it goes the other direction?
Yes.
And can you change the color to a happy color? Can
Yes.
you change the sound to a happy sound?
Yes.
And the auditory component that comes before the feeling, what happens when you move to the other side?
Feels better.
Okay. What if we take that auditory component and slow it down?
Goes away.
Take that picture, turn it around, look what's written on the back, and throw it out the window. Earlier, I asked you to generate a bad feeling. You did it easily. Do it again now and tell me what's changed.
See it differently.
Notice she's sitting up straighter. There's a lilt in her voice that wasn't there a moment ago. I didn't ask her anything about what happened. I don't want to know. That's personal. It's private. It needs to stay private. This is how easily and quickly you can get rid of depression permanently. Because the chronic depressive, once he knows how to do this, he'll do it all the time. So, 9 years have gone by since John and Richard made their discovery about the programming languages of the brain. And a person who is influential in the mental health profession says, "You guys think you're so smart. Why don't you get rid of phobias?" Nobody knew what to do for phobias. Well, Richard knows that somebody's already done it, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to find that person and figure out what it is. And he found some people. What did you do? And the person puts their hand to their forehead, prefrontal cortex, and they say, "I looked at myself." Does anyone want to guess what this is called when you point and you point at the picture that you see yourself in over there? It's not association, it's the opposite of that. Whether you call it dissociation, which is what the chemists call it, or whether you call it disassociation, which is written out. Anyway, when I see my hands here, and my eyebrows here, indicating that they need to be trimmed, and my nose here, and my hands here, my knees here, I'm associated. When I see myself over there, I'm dissociated, right? Simple stuff. These people were all using dissociation to recover from phobias. Hence, BK dissociation. Think of something that makes you feel bad, step out of the picture, move the picture off in the distance, suddenly it doesn't bother you anymore. So, what's the real problem in bad feelings? Ones that are crippling? You got a lot of activity in the basal ganglia, the nucleus accumbens, the hippocampus, the amygdala, so on and so forth. When we dissociate, the focus of activity moves up to the prefrontal cortex where we handle things rationally. Might this be useful in battle? We all need to know how to do this, whether we're going into battle or not. people, and the feeling's gone, and I just can't get it back. Step back into the picture, you'll get the feelings back. I guarantee it. Especially if the picture's the same color, runs the same speed, and has the same sound. Is there a troubling memory? Is it a motion picture? Turn it into a slideshow. Of the thousands of people I've done this with, no one has ever said to me that their troubling memory was a slideshow. Not once. I don't think it's ever happened in history. Turn the movie into a slideshow. Change something, change anything. Keep changing it until the problem becomes a resource. And you're not giving people new skills. There's an unpleasant memory in your past that you've gotten to be okay with. I know this because we're in the same age group. It happens with the passing of time that we have difficult experiences, and with the passing of time, we get used to them. And what has happened? We learn to dissociate, and we learn to move the neuronal activity out of the basal ganglia and into the prefrontal cortex. We're not giving people new skills. We're giving the short course for something they're going to learn on their own anyway. We're teaching them. We're not manipulating them. We're not doing therapy. We're not even getting a thorough history. Sometimes I want to know when it started so I can regress them to a time when they didn't have that, so they can remember what it felt like to be whole and complete. One of my favorite passages from a popular book says, except you become as a little child, you can never enter the kingdom of heaven. What are we like as children? Courageous, fearless, curious, comfortable in our own skin. Things don't bother us, nothing sticks. Feeling bad is learned. You've developed amnesia for some of the things that you learned, and failed to develop amnesia for some of the things you should have. Why wait? I love it when I see a person's eyes go, because I know there's stuff going on. They're moving the pictures around.
The three of us have created a project that we call the PTSD Resolution Project. Because this is so clear to us that we can resolve PTSD, and that not only we can, but we can help others do the resolution. So we have three prongs in our approach, and the first is direct care. I mean, people want to get well, we can help them get well. Don and I can do this with them. We can bring them in for a session, a couple of sessions if need be, and walk out again feeling the freedom of the children of God, I say. The second approach is training people to do it. Training those who will take this skill and implement it in their own existing practice. The third is to build an association of caregivers, providers, professional providers, so that we can, across the nation, connect people in need with those who have the skills, that we know they have the skills, so that they're vetted. So we wonder how we, with those three emphases, how we can partner with you, the chaplains here, to do what you think is needful to administer and heal the people that we have under our care. The PTSD resolution is our project, but we want to be available to the community that are in need of this. Senator Bennett, in 2013, put together a panel to study why 22 vets a day were suiciding because of PTSD. And out of that, one of the recommendations that panel developed was a partnership between civilians and the military. And really, that's part of the reason we're here. How can we be partners with you? We can come down and train you to do the PTSD or the fast phobia cure. We can teach you to equip you to be able to administer this in such a way that you'll be astounded at how people change. The more, and I'm convinced, PTSD is a big topic now. It's everywhere. The Pentagon was.
So in and out of the military, This is
What are the proven good practices that really work with PTSD? It's in the literature now, it's on the radio, and I'm confident that the more we talk about PTSD, the more people become convinced that we can't cure it. And that's just not true. It's just not true. People don't have to live with the PTSD because there's a way of engaging their resources so they can move them out of what's literally killing them and killing others.